What's up, everyone? Welcome to the Power Play with CJ. I just want to focus in on whether or not Auston Matthews, likely being drafted by the Toronto Maple Leafs, affects Steven Stamkos going home to Toronto in free agency this summer. And I can see it both ways. I know, it sounds like I'm copping out. I can see Stamkos being like, oh, this kid's a stud. Me and him on the Power Play making some sweet music. That's something to think about. Flip side of the coin, I can see from Toronto's perspective being like, we got a potential John Taves, Anze Kopitar type center. We got Marner, we got Nylander. Got a lot of talent, not to discredit, former 60 goal scorer, but do we want to tie up $10 million a year in Stamkos when these guys are going to need new contracts in a few years? Kind of, and I know they got Kadri and Morgan Riley, kind of on the cheap to re-sign, but that may not be the case with Auston and Mitch Marner and Willie Nylander, guys like that. So you're kind of playing with fire. And again, I'm not putting down Steven Stamkos because again, the guy's a former 60 goal scorer, perennial contender for the Rocket Richard Trophy, one of the best goal scorers in the last 20 years in the league. But it's definitely something you gotta kind of look at and be like, and I think if Stamkos were to go to Toronto, I don't want to say they're in the play. All right, here's my thing. Look at Buffalo last year. They draft Eichel, so for the sake of argument, Matthews equals Eichel, and then they went out and got a veteran, center that's played an All-Star game. Ryan O'Reilly. Is Stamkos better than Ryan O'Reilly? Yes. But Buffalo improved, but they weren't necessarily in the playoffs. Stamkos is obviously going to give you a major shot in the arm offensively. I think they're going to be, in the market for goalie as well. Possibly Freddie Anderson ends up there. So you got Freddie Anderson in that, Stamkos, Auston Matthews, the Russian defenseman. So I think he's going to really help their power play unit. And, the young players kind of growing and developing. You're definitely going to jump up. I mean, when you're at rock bottom, there's nowhere to go but up. Unless you're the Edmonton Oilers, and then you drill down to the 50 feet of shit below rock bottom. But, I think that they could, be at that 85, in between 85 and 95 points with Stamkos in the lineup next year. And that's assuming Matthews makes the adjustment to the NHL. I think he will. I think he's a phenomenal freaking player. He'll do fine. So that's the situation. But, I think they're a cup contender in 3 years. I think, with Stamkos in this lineup, they are a contender to win the cup within, 2.5 to 3 years. So there's another facet of it. And, for a team that hasn't won a cup in almost 50 years, might want to roll the dice now. But again, I think Stamkos would prefer to play with a guy like Auston Matthews than not have a guy like Auston Matthews on their roster. But from the Leafs' perspective, it becomes a matter of, does Brendan Shanahan and company want to dole out this massive contract to a guy who, again, is great and is only 26 years old, but you also have some other players that you're going to have to, and it's kind of the same issue Tampa faces, too, with re-signing Stamkos. If you re-sign him, do you then jeopardize, having the cap room to re-sign a Victor Hedman, re-sign a Tyler Johnson, Andre Palat, Alex Killorn, Nikita Kucherov, the best player of that lot. So, again, it's not to put Stamkos down either. It's not to talk about him like he's, chopped liver. He's the real deal. Future Hall of Famer, 600 goal scorer. So, we'll see what happens. Anyway, that's all I got in this episode of the Power Play with CJ. Stay tuned for more episodes throughout the playoffs and beyond. Later, guys.